Folks, it's Fernando doing our video for the More Survivalists, and here I have a question from Chicagoland Survival. He says, do you recommend a shotgun for home defense? And the answer is yes, I do recommend a shotgun for home defense. No, I do not recommend it for everyone. And before I continue, let me just say, if you're interested in this kind of topic, home defense, armed survival, self-defense, concealed carrying, that sort of thing, do get my book, The Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse. The link below to Amazon is going to be right there. And the reason shameless plug, the thing is this, guys, in this book, pretty much half of it is those kind of topics. How to defend yourself, your house, your family, which guns, why, which are good options, which are not as great. All those things I explain in so much more detail in this book than I could possibly do in these videos. I love doing these videos, but understand that in 5-10 minutes, I just cannot go into the kind of depth that I can do in a book. So the thing with a pump action shotgun is this. It's a very powerful gun, right? You're gonna be shooting these, buckshot is, a showstopper. It's a very powerful round. It's a very reliable gun as well, and it's simple in the way in which it's used, but it requires a certain amount of training that not everyone has, and especially for a new shooter, it may be a little bit too much. Now, I understand that for people that for the first time walk into a gun store, there's a good chance that someone there with good intentions is going to be saying, get yourself a pump action shotgun. This is something that it works. You just rag the slide and you just do like this, and everyone runs and scares and whatnot. I've had a good amount of firearms training in my life so far, plan to continue. I'm actually a firearms instructor. I took classes specifically on running pump action shotguns, learned to appreciate what they can do, but also understood very well their limitations compared to other systems. And the thing is this, first of all, we're talking about a long gun, right? For, here you have an M4 as well. When you have a long gun, you need to know how to move with it in close quarters. That's not always as easy as it may seem. You're likely to bump into furniture, walls when moving. You need to train that sort of thing. It's a gun that is as powerful as it is. It has a lot of recoil. For smaller frame people, that may be an issue as well. Most of all, the biggest thing that it has is that for every round you're going to be firing, you need to pump that gun. So you're going to be keeping it with a round in the chamber, safety on, right? Something happens, you move the safety, you fire, you pump, fire, and pump. Some people can run this as fast as a semi-automatic shotgun, and that's great, good for them, but it's not going to be likely that a new shooter is anywhere near as capable as those guys. In fact, you have to take into account stress, struggling with someone, maybe trying to get hold of that gun, shooting single-handed, maybe defending yourself with your other gun, maybe getting shot, injured. All those things mean that the ability of shooting in semi-auto is a huge advantage. Are there semi-automatic shotguns? Yes, they are. No, they're not as reliable as pumps, and still you're talking about a big, bulky, high recoil gun with low ammo capacity. So for all those reasons, what I recommend is getting yourself a Glock pistol. As I've said in my book, which I just mentioned, and I've said in previous videos. Why? Well, simply the Glock is the best, most reliable, all-around best option in terms of a semi-automatic handgun as of right now. There's simply no other gun that comes even close to having all those traits and characteristics as Glock has. That's why it's the most used gun among police departments, military around the world. The most elite of the elites, they use also Glock pistols, just like you can with $300 buying one surplus. Glock 17 or Glock 19 in 9mm. Why? Because 9mm is cheap, it's affordable, it has a reasonable amount of recoil. It's not going to be scaring new shooters as much as some of the more powerful rounds, which may be great. I personally love 357 SIG, but I understand it's not the gun for a new shooter. And Also, when you talk with your firearms instructor, which you should be taking instructions so as to use it properly because it's the right gun and with the right training, when he says to bring 500 rounds for your next class, you're not going to be freaking out and crying a river over the cost of ammo. At the same time, with 9mm, you can buy premium ammo in jacket hollow points, gold dots, for example. Good round, that's going to be more than enough so as to defend yourself. Talking about a gun that is compact enough so as to keep good retention. It's a gun that fires semi-automatically, and you have 17 rounds plus 1. So it is going to be more than adequate for home defense. Not as powerful as sending one of these guys downrange, but those other characteristics, the ability of retaining the gun, of shooting in semi-automatic, is just what does it for me in terms of, I know that if you get the minimum training so as to run this with a gun that works well, you're going to be set for home defense. Now, you're listening to what I'm saying and you don't like it, and you're thinking, okay, I'm not going to be doing any of this. I don't care that much. I'm going to be buying something very simple, so I'm still going to be going for a shotgun. Well, no. If your idea is getting, and guys, understand that buying a gun and not getting adequate training is like buying a car and not knowing how to drive, only more dangerous because you're talking about a weapon. If you're going to be doing that, you still need at least a basic class on safe handling. But if you're going to be going for minimum amount of training, get yourself a revolver. Right, get yourself a revolver from Smith & Wesson, Ruger. If you get yourself a Colt, this is a Manouran MR73. If you can get yourself one of these, even better. But most likely get yourself a Smith, Colt, Ruger. Those are good guns. Taurus, no, just don't do it. It's not worth it. You're talking about your life. You don't want to be getting crappy Taurus, which I've owned many, always regretted them, and pretty much sold them every time, frustrated by making the same mistake. Barrel length, yeah, this is a 5 1/4 inch barrel, maybe not this big. Going to be looking at 4.3, maybe even a snubby revolver with a 2-3 inch barrel. If it's a small place, that's going to be enough. The snubby revolver is a tricky gun because it requires a lot of skill so as to master, but it has the advantage of being very simple for the new shooter with limited knowledge on using guns. So the advantage of the revolver is not that it's more reliable, it's not that it's more dependable than the semi-automatic, it's that the user interface, the manual of arms, is more simple in terms you open the cylinder, you put your rounds in there, you close it, and as long as you remember not to shoot yourself in the foot, something happens, you bring out the gun, you pull the trigger, it's going to be firing around. Chances are it's going to be happening. Again, revolvers, in spite of what some people may say, are not more dependable or more reliable than semi-automatic pistols. They're just more simple in the way they're used. But the clockwork, the trigger mechanism is always going to be more complex, especially compared to a simple Glock. In this case, the Manouran MR73 is a fantastic revolver, maybe the best combat revolver ever made. Now, the first time I bought it and I shot it, I took it to the range, I only managed to shoot half the cylinders, half the rounds in the cylinder. Only 3 shots came out of the 6. What happened was that the previous owner was a target shooter that used only very light 38 loads for target practice. Given how accurate this gun is, that's something that happens quite common. And knowing what I know about guns and knowing what I know about the previous owner, I kind of had an idea what he had done with the gun, so I took the grips off and use a screwdriver there for a little screw that's putting tension on the spring leaf. Just a quarter of a turn of that little screw fixed the problem. 100% reliable for boxes out of that. But you still see what I mean. Even with the best revolver, arguably the best revolver ever made, it has these quirks, these things that just don't happen in your $300 surplus Glock pistol that you bought in a gun show. That's why I always recommend this as the better gun if you're going to be putting the minimum training into it so as to use it proficiently. If you're not planning on doing that and want to keep it at an extremely bare minimum because you're not interested at all, get yourself a revolver with a short barrel, 3-4 inches, maybe even 2. Having said all that, you're still thinking, okay, I'm going to be getting myself a semi-automatic rifle or long arm because that's what I need. I need more power. Then get yourself maybe an AR. In this case, this is a Colt M4, 14.5-inch barrel. It's, you know, it's a gun that, especially in the United States, you're gonna be finding someone that knows how to run it and teach you how to use it properly. It is semi-automatic, so you have for each trigger pull, you're not gonna be having that problem of pumping the gun for each round like in your Mossberg 500 or Remington 870. 10, 20, 30, 60 round mags, all available. And yeah, you know, that's it. The shotgun is a fantastic gun and it's very powerful. It's even better when you have that training that some people have, and it's great, and it's a devastating home defense weapon when it goes along with the right training. Folks, that's gonna be all for now. Remember to subscribe, thumbs up, share. See you on our next video.